The Israelite people, once raised to high favor in Egypt, had now been reduced to cruel slavery. It seemed as though the promise was in jeopardy. But as ever, God was ruling the destiny of his chosen. On this occasion, God raised up a great prophet and leader, Moses, to be his instrument in bringing his people to the next step in his plan of salvation. Moses was uniquely prepared to carry out the task set him by God. An Israelite of the tribe of Levi, Moses had escaped the edict promulgated by the Egyptians, decreeing that all Israelite males should be killed. While he was still an infant, his mother, no longer able to keep him secret, gave him up to the care of God and set him floating in a small basket like a little ark on the river Nile. The daughter of Pharaoh happened to be bathing there. She saw the basket and said, "Look, it is one of the Israelite children." She took pity on the child and adopted him as her own son. Moses was then raised in the Egyptian royal household and was given an upbringing that initiated him into the ways of Egyptian wisdom and that allowed him to deal with Pharaoh and the powers of Egypt on equal terms. Once grown to manhood, Moses was forced to flee Egypt for killing an Egyptian whom he saw beating one of the Israelite slaves. While he was still in exile in the wilderness, near a mountain called Sinai, Moses saw a strange sight, a bush that was burning, but not being consumed by the fire. He went aside to look at the marvel, and was awestruck to find himself in the presence of God. God spoke to him from the midst of the bush, and charged him to lead the Israelites out of their slavery. The Lord said to Moses, "I have seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmaster. I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt." Moses asked God the name by which he should be known, and God said to him, "I am who am. Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations." God explained to Moses his plan for setting his people free. Moses and the elders of the Israelites were to go to Pharaoh and request that the whole people be given leave to go on a 3-day journey into the wilderness to worship God. "I know," God told Moses, "that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless compelled by a mighty hand. So I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all the wonders which I will do in it. After that, he will let you go." Initially reluctant, Moses submitted to God's directives, and with his brother Aaron as his spokesman, went to Pharaoh and gave him God's message. The Egyptian Pharaoh wanted nothing to do with letting the Israelites go to worship their God. He saw the probability that they would never return, leaving the Egyptians without their slaves and perhaps facing an enemy. He flatly refused. As a result, God sent plague after plague upon the Egyptians, brought about by the hand of Moses. In each case, the pride of Pharaoh kept him from recognizing and submitting to God. This violent dealing on God's part with Pharaoh had a meaning that went beyond the Egyptians and the Hebrews. God dealt with Pharaoh as a symbol and representative of the powers of the world enmeshed in the rebellion of the devil. God had decided to act and to let both his chosen people and their enemies see his triumphant power to save. Nothing would move Pharaoh until finally the last dreadful plague came upon him. God told him that he would send his destroying angel to kill every firstborn son in Egypt. But lest the Israelites lose their sons too, God instructed Moses to tell the Israelites to prepare a special sacrifice. They shall take a lamb without blemish, a year old. They shall kill the lambs in the evening. Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat them. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague shall fall upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So it came about. God took all the Egyptians' firstborn sons, and in doing so executed judgment on all the gods of Egypt. The invisible cosmic battle was being engaged through visible means. Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where one was not dead. And he summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise up, go forth from among my people, both you and the people of Israel. Go and serve the Lord as you have said. So the whole people of Israel, many thousands, immediately arose and left their homes. They took all their cattle and all their belongings, and they set off toward the desert under the leadership of Moses, not knowing where they were going or what God might have in store for them.